Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the First Amendment, prior restraints, and exigent circumstances, and is brought to us by This Is a Public Services channel and Mandy Hedges' channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. This will be another double feature episode, so be sure to stick around for our coverage of both of today's interactions. On September 24th, 2023, officers from the Orange City, Florida Police Department approached an individual who was standing on the side of the road with a sign requesting financial assistance. The encounter that followed was captured on officer body camera.
Bravo 48.
Ma'am. Ma'am, can you come over here? Okay, what are we doing out here? We can't.
With all due respect, I'm not breaking any law.
Okay, this is considered soliciting. Do you have a permit for it?
48, go ahead to the next.
I don't have a permit,
Okay.
and
Charlie, whiskey November.
you need me to change a word, I'll change
Okay.
it. You
What
can write me a
are you looking
ticket.
for? Money? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, I'm absolutely destitute.
No, you can go to jail for that. You understand that. In this city, we have a city ordinance.
I've already spoken with the police. I've read
Okay,
the
what
statutes.
police? What
if I get
police?
arrested, there'll be
What
a lawsuit
police?
for false.
What police? Who did you speak with?
I've spoken with the sheriff. Do you want to write me a ticket? I
Okay,
don't want to
we're
argue
in
with
Orange
you.
City. We're not the
I
sheriff's office.
understand, but we're
okay?
still in the state of Florida and the United States of America. There's
Okay.
a constitution.
Okay.
There is freedom of speech.
Okay, I understand that.
But
Yeah.
federal laws trump all other laws
Okay.
on all other levels.
Well, for us,
And
we
I'm
have a city
exercising-
ordinance.
I'm exercising free speech.
You're seeking to get money, okay? This
You
is
know
not
what?
a place to get money. You need to move along and get out of here.
You can't. You can write me a ticket. You can't arrest me.
Yes, I can. And we have a city ordinance, and yes, I can arrest you for it.
Does
And-
Orange
you
City
copy
want to go
information,
down
please
for
create a
arresting a
crash
victim
call.
of
I'm not
domestic
involved.
violence?
Okay.
This is a public
If you need
sidewalk.
help, I can give you some
This is a
paper,
public sidewalk.
some paperwork or
I've
something,
been to
okay?
Location
I went
is
to every
Republic,
agency
I think it's
before I left
2100
Florida.
Saxon. It's
Okay.
just on the other side of Saxon
You
and
just-
I-4 on the Deltona side.
You just can't be out. You can't be out here, ma'am, okay?
Unknown
If we get a call here for you
They think
again,
we might need
it's not going to be
rescue
good, okay? I'm letting you know at this moment.
Excuse me?
I said if we get a call out here again,
Hold
it's
on, I
not
need
going
to
to be.
record this.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
You're state police?
I'm Orange City.
Okay.
And if you want a supervisor,
Who called
can.
you?
If you want a
This is a
super,
public sidewalk.
Ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay,
listen.
quote me the ordinance, please.
Okay.
That
I'll get you the
actually-
ordinance
No, I
and
need
everything.
it right now.
If you want a supervisor, I can get you one out there, okay?
What?
If you want a supervisor, I'll get you one
I
out
don't
there.
want a supervisor. I want
Okay.
you to tell me the statute.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Are you from here?
I'm not going to answer any questions. Do you arrest Girl Scouts?
I'm sorry, I'm landline and I couldn't hear you. One
I'm
more
sorry,
time,
do you
please.
arrest Girl Scouts?
Are you near Harley Strickland Enterprise? In
I know you
reference
don't
to the
arrest
solicitor?
because I've seen them all over the place. Or your drug dealers.
I am
I've
nowhere
seen
near
them
there
all
right
over
now. I'm
the
heading over
place.
to that crash on the other side of I-4 for a minute.
Okay, I might need you over here.
Is it
I'm
urgent?
leaving, and I'm advising you. Do
No.
not follow me, do not stalk me, do not harass me.
Never mind, I have somebody else
What's
with
the
me.
statute?
Okay, we have a city ordinance in the
What is the
city limits.
ordinance? Okay, that's my point. If you don't know Florida statute or the United States Constitution, that's not my problem.
The woman argues that the Constitution protects her right to ask for money, regardless of what the city ordinance says. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that solicitation is a recognized form of speech protected by the First Amendment. For instance, in the 1980 case of Schaumburg versus Citizens for Better Environment, the Supreme Court concluded that, quote, charitable appeals for funds, on the street or door-to-door, involve a variety of speech interests: communication of information, the dissemination and propagation of views and ideas, and the advocacy of causes that are within the protection of the First Amendment. Applying this precedent, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Florida, determined in the 1999 case of Smith versus City of Fort Lauderdale that, quote, like other charitable solicitation, begging is speech entitled to First Amendment protection. Now, of course, as we've discussed before here on ATA, the fact that speech is protected by the First Amendment does not mean that the government can never regulate it. But as the Supreme Court explained in the 2015 case of Reed Reed versus Town of Gilbert, quote, "Content-based laws, those that target speech based on its communicative content, are presumptively unconstitutional and may be justified only if the government proves that they are narrowly tailored to serve compelling state interests. Broad solicitation bans are generally considered content-based laws and are therefore presumptively unconstitutional because they target speech that requests money rather than other forms of speech." We will discuss the specific content of the Orange City Ordinance and its permit requirement later in this episode, but for now, it is important to understand that a law completely banning solicitation would almost certainly be unconstitutional.
But it will be your problem if you continue to harass me when you let the drunks, the drug addicts, and the prostitutes sit all over the place, and just because everybody knows who they are and they don't have to fly a sign and ask for money, even though they're housed and they have income. Big difference. So what is the city ordinance? I'm not going to ask again. She's threatening to arrest me.
I never said I was going to arrest you.
Yes, you did.
I said we have a city. Listen,
okay,
listen
I'm done
to me.
with you now.
I told you we have a city
I don't need another
ordinance.
police officer that's going to lie to my face. Understood?
I asked you if you have a permit and you said no. I told you.
What? Do Girl Scouts get permits?
Okay. Everybody else that gets permits, yes. You can't be out here soliciting. We have a city ordinance in place.
What is soliciting?
Okay. Exactly what you're doing right now, ma'am. You're asking for donations. You're asking for money. That is soliciting. If you do not have a permit, you cannot do that. If you have one and you can show me, then I'll let you do it.
So do you have a
now
permit
I'm going to be watching all these other people that are everywhere asking for money and see if they get hassled.
Okay, that's completely fine. As long as you leave, that's completely fine.
Leave?
Yeah, you can't do what you're doing. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, signs down. This is a public corner. You telling me I can't do this?
You can stand here, but you can't solicit. That's the issue. You standing here is not the issue.
I can't ask for donations.
No, ma'am, not without a permit. You understand?
I want to hear the city ordinance one more time, please.
I can print it out for you.
Okay.
Is that what you want? Yeah, go ahead and print it out for her. So she's out here asking for donations and money. I'm explaining to her that within Orange City limits, we have a city ordinance for it. And she's like, "Oh no, you're gonna be violating my rights because I can do this." Yep. Try to explain to her. She doesn't want to listen.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. What are we doing today?
Okay. She threatened to arrest me.
Yeah, I did not.
And holding a sign, telling the public why I'm standing there.
Okay.
Because supposedly I was soliciting funds.
Okay. If you have a sign out and you're asking for any form of donations, money of any kind, that is a form of solicitation. Okay. In the city of Orange City, there is a city ordinance that governs that from happening.
Okay, I want to see it.
Okay. I can go print that for
That's
you.
what the
Grandma
other person.
said.
Okay. So he's working on that then. Okay. But I'm telling you now, it is an arrestable offense. Yes, ma'am, it is.
I was a victim and I'm a survivor of DV.
Okay.
I was attacked in our state's capital this past June. You are dealing with someone who has been harassed by police. Now, this is something Orange City wants to be known for.
Ma'am, it's been
I'm on the street.
Okay.
I have zero income.
Understood.
I have no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing.
Okay.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs.
Okay.
And I'm certainly not a hooker. But I see those people all over the place, and they're doing the same damn thing.
And when we see that, we address it with that.
No, but you know what? It's only me that happens to be seen.
It's okay.
All I'm telling you is this.
Leave me alone.
Collect your things
Leave
and go,
me
or you will go to jail.
No, I'm not. I'm going to stand right there on a public
All right,
sidewalk.
right here.
Right here. There you go.
I'm going to stand right there on a
Yeah, you
public
can go ahead
sidewalk.
and stand, but you can't be having any
So now
signs.
you're telling me to collect my things and go.
If you're going to be soliciting, you will collect your things and leave.
I'll be soon.
All right, take your signs down.
That's not asking for money. I'm not taking that down. That is free speech. That man needs to be disbarred. Period.
I'm telling you this much right now. If you come back through here and you're out here soliciting for funds, you're going to be arrested. This is a city ordinance violation, ma'am.
This is law enforcement harassment. Well, but what can I say? That I'm homeless, that I'm hungry, that I have zero money.
Okay, I'm sorry that's a situation.
I'm asking you, is that an option? Can I make that statement
About what?
without saying I'm seeking anything?
You cannot walk in the car to collect money. You cannot ask people
I
that are
can't
at stoplights for money.
I never asked anyone. I'm holding a sign. I don't speak to anyone. They're holding it outside their vehicle.
I'm telling you again.
If they're offering,
unless you have a permit.
The officers repeatedly state that under the city ordinance, individuals may not quote-unquote solicit without a permit. At the time of this encounter, Section 10.7-9 of the Orange City Code of Ordinances required citizens to obtain a permit from the city manager to engage in so-called solicitation, which Section 10.7-2 of the Code of Ordinances defined as, quote, requesting, directly or indirectly, expressly or by implication, money, credit, property, financial assistance, information, or any other thing of value, either in return for goods or services, or as a contribution or donation, on county or state rights of way within the boundaries of the city. The ordinance also laid out the conditions for obtaining a permit, such as the requirements that the applicant be a 501c3 nonprofit organization and provide a $1 million insurance policy naming the city as an insured party to cover any legal claims or costs arising from the solicitation activities. This sort of government limitation on speech before it occurs is known as a prior restraint. As the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals explained in the 2000 case of U.S. versus Franson, quote, although prior restraints are not per se unconstitutional, there is a strong presumption against their constitutionality. In the 2020 case of Vigay versus Shore, the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida determined that a state statute which, like the Orange City Ordinance, prohibited individuals from soliciting charity on roadways without a permit issued by a local government was an unconstitutional prior restraint on First Amendment protected speech. In reaching this conclusion, the court noted that the statute lacked narrow, objective, and definite standards to guide the licensing authority, failed to confine the time within which the decision-maker must act, and did not provide adequate procedural safeguards to individuals who had their permit applications denied. The Orange City Ordinance did not include any time constraints or create an appeal process. Additionally, the ordinance stated that a permit would be issued, quote, upon receipt of an application, plan, and indemnification acceptable to the city, without any object standards regarding what would make an application, quote-unquote, acceptable. As such, given the substantial amount of discretion given to the government by the ordinance, it is probable that a court would conclude that it was an unconstitutional prior restraint.
You know what? You're trying to escalate this so you have a reason to arrest me.
No, ma'am. That's not even the case. I would
Orange City's going on the map, too.
I would hate to arrest you for something like this. It's silly. You're making it more difficult than it has to be. We're simply telling you our ordinance for the city, and you're failing to adhere to that. And with
I haven't failed to adhere to that.
You're going to stand out here and continue to
I haven't failed to adhere to that.
You will be failing to adhere to that.
And if somebody offers me something, there is no law saying that I cannot accept it.
You can't stand on the corner and ask for money or funds with signs. It's called soliciting, and it's
I can say whatever I want on a sign.
Okay,
that is
continue to do it. I promise you, you'll go to jail.
You better make sure you know Samantha.
Orange City City Manager Dale Arrington told me in an email that at the beginning of October of 2023, after the video of this encounter was shared, quote, the city of Orange City immediately stopped enforcing those provisions of the ordinance determined unconstitutional and began the process of modifying its soliciting/panhandling ordinance. A repealing ordinance that eliminated the permit requirement and loosened several other restrictions on solicitation speech was then adopted on April 9th, 2024. The new ordinance replaced the permit requirement with limitations that apply to all citizens, not just those who are engaging in solicitation, and shifted the focus of the prohibitions to potentially dangerous conduct rather than the content of any speech. The revised ordinance states in part that, quote, it is unlawful for any person to stand in the portion of the public right-of-way adjacent to a paved roadway or on any public sidewalk in the city for any purposes which is intended to or actually interrupts the normal flow of vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Overall, the Orange City officers get an F for attempting to enforce a clearly unconstitutional law, likely violating the First Amendment in the process, and demonstrating an alarming amount of contempt for a citizen who was in an unfortunate situation and simply trying to ask for help. It is deeply troubling to me that the officers seem to wholeheartedly believe that they were in the right, despite the abundance of case law clearly holding that solicitation is protected by the First Amendment. And while such an obviously unconstitutional ordinance should never have been on the books in the first place, it is alarming that none of the officers involved or even the leadership at the police department saw any issues with the solicitation ban. That being said, I do want to commend the Orange City government for responding promptly to this incident and amending the ordinance to comply with the First Amendment, although they ideally would have done so before the citizen in this encounter had her rights violated. The woman with the sign gets an A for understanding and asserting her First Amendment rights, remaining relatively calm under the circumstances, and challenging the officer's unlawful actions. Courts have made it abundantly clear that individuals in this country have the constitutional right to ask for financial assistance from their fellow citizens, and as long as they do not interfere with the flow of traffic, physically intimidate the individuals they solicit from, or engage in fraudulent or otherwise criminal conduct, they are entitled to do so by holding a sign on a public sidewalk. While there may be limited restrictions that the government can put in place, the woman in this interaction was entirely correct in her assertions regarding the protections provided by the First Amendment for her speech, and she managed to respond appropriately to what must have been an incredibly frustrating situation. I hope that her luck has turned around by now, and I commend her for practicing and defending her First Amendment rights. Let's move on to the next interaction. On February 23, 2021, an officer with the Manheim Borough Police Department responded to a call at the home of a local couple and their children in Manheim, Pennsylvania. The interaction that followed was captured on the officer's body camera.
I called. Are you here to, I guess, to check it?
What's going on?
I'm losing my over this. She just keeps lying. You can't come in quite yet, sir. I said you can't come in. Mandy, he's Mandy. I know the law. He's not bullying me.
Without saying a word, the Manheim officer grabs the citizen by the neck and attempts to throw him on the ground. The citizen and the officer both fell down, which prompted the citizen's wife to dive on top of him in an attempt to protect him from the officer's unprovoked attack. After allegedly punching the citizen's wife and choking the citizen while laying on top of him, the officer appears to somewhat come to his senses and allow the citizen to stand up, where he was able to place him in handcuffs without further incident.
Are you serious? You heard it. You cannot. I know the law.
Let's go.
All right. You need to. Ow! See what? Sir, you need to get him to stop doing this. I called. I called. My God, you gotta get him to stop doing it.
Is there a cage anywhere?
What's that? I called the cop.
I've been trying to figure out what's going on.
And he just.
You put him in my car.
Choking her.
What's going on?
You're not supposed to. You don't want to choke me.
I wasn't choking you, ma'am.
I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to him. He just choked me. He choked my dog. Pushed my head.
Can you unlock that?
I don't want to talk to him.
Okay, well,
You take a while, please. Nothing's going on. I had my kids in the shower. I did a little lie to him that he wanted me to call.
You did a lie?
A little lie to him. Like, I said I called or emailed somebody and he got mad. And like I said, he's going through medical disorders right
Okay,
now.
so what's going on with his medical problem so we can try and get him help?
He's stuck in like 5 years ago.
Oh.
Me cheating on him. Yada yada.
Okay.
The doctor's 100% aware of this, but I don't want to talk to you.
Okay, well,
I need to know if my pig's inside now too.
your pig?
Yes, I have a pig.
Okay. What is your name?
You don't need my name. I need to talk to anybody else.
Okay, well,
I want charges on you.
Okay, that's fine.
No reason to arrest him, because he said just let him get dressed, and I was dressing our kids, and I didn't want you to see him naked. And that's specifically what I said to him.
Okay, well, that was never relayed to me.
Because you didn't let it.
I needed to make sure that you were okay and he was okay.
We were fine.
And then all hell broke loose. Okay?
All hell broke loose because you started choking him.
I did not choke him.
Yes, you did.
Let me talk to her.
Can I go
inside?
Yeah, don't mind if I come in the middle of remodeling.
And get info on that dog, because it was biting me on the freaking leg.
Same thing happened here a couple years ago. Goss and I witnessed the domestic. He hit her. I chased in after him, tackled him, and she claims I hit the kid and did all this other whatever.
Resisting at this point. I have theoretically can take both of them. All right.
You called for the police. Help me understand what's going on.
Dude, I don't want to talk to you no more. You just, like, choked my girl. Like, that, I did nothing wrong. I followed the law. I know. You can't do what you just did to me.
Okay.
And I know
well,
that.
that's a conversation for another time.
No, it's not. I mean, what the hell?
Do you want to talk to this officer instead?
Yes, I would,
okay,
actually.
Officer Reinier, would you take a statement and get his information?
Like I said, this is...
They're both alleging I was choking them. They were on top of each other.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you can't come in. I'm like, well, I could hear something inside. I could hear screaming when I came up.
Yeah.
So I started to force my way in, and then everything went sideways.
The officer claims that he tried to force his way into the home because he heard screaming as he walked up. However, his body camera footage clearly shows that it was quiet as the officer walked up, and there was no screaming or arguing inside the house until after the struggle with the residents began.
I called. Are you here to, I guess, to check it?
What's going on?
I'm losing over this. She just keeps lying. You can't come in quite yet, sir. I said you can't come in. Mandy! He's Mandy!
As we have explored before here on ATA, the Fourth Amendment generally prohibits officers from entering a citizen's home over their objection without a warrant, although there are a few limited exceptions. In the 2021 case of Lang versus California, the Supreme Court explained that, quote, one important exception is for exigent circumstances. It applies when the exigencies of the situation make the needs of law enforcement so compelling that a warrantless search is objectively reasonable. The exception enables law enforcement officers to handle emergencies, situations presenting a compelling need for official action and no time to secure a warrant. In those circumstances, the delay required to obtain a warrant would bring about some real, immediate, and serious consequences, and so the absence of a warrant is excused. Examples of exigent circumstances may include providing emergency assistance to an injured occupant, protecting an occupant from imminent injury, preventing the imminent destruction of evidence, stopping a suspect from escaping, or ensuring the officer's own safety. However, in this situation, given the fact that there is no evidence of any exigency existing at the time the officer entered the home, a court would likely conclude that the officer's entry into the home violated the Fourth Amendment.
He's grabbing me, she's grabbing me. At one point, we're all on top of each other. I'm trying to, like, separate them.
You got hurt for anything? Or not so much?
I mean, light resisting, I guess, on both.
The reason he called us, he didn't give me a reason why he called us. So, there's no crime that occurred, he called us. Alright? He just didn't... I didn't understand why you get his name even?
No.
Okay, I didn't know.
Now, I could hear a verbal argument as I was walking up. Then he said, you can't come in yet. I could hear people moving around inside, so I started to work past him, and then all hell broke loose.
What are we going to do here? Arraignment or...
3441 from County.
I'm going to talk to the chief, see what he... Yeah, he said I couldn't go in. I could hear an argument when I was walking up. And they tried stopping me. Then she started in. Kids start screaming. Dogs biting me on the leg. Not like enough to break the skin, but Rick, I'll let you deal with him.
What should I tell him
He's detained.
He's detained at this point, yeah.
So much for lunch. Like, at one point I was like trying to like just separate them with my forearms.
And they were at each other.
No. He was standing in the doorway. I'm like, what's going on? Or something like that. So what's going on in here before we got here?
Arguing. That's about it.
Okay. Wasn't physical.
That's what they were saying. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're having more than one resisting?
Yeah, resist. Nah, not just resisting.
All right, let me just see.
Okay. So we'll take him back to station on that. Yes? Okay. All right, according to the chief, nothing like physical prior to arrival, so we have him just for the resisting. So we'll take him back.
Process him.
Yep.
The officers agree to take the resident to the police station and process him for resisting. According to Section 5104 of Title 18 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, quote, a person commits a misdemeanor of the second degree if, with the intent of preventing a public servant from effecting a lawful arrest or discharging any other duty, the person creates a substantial risk of bodily injury to the public servant or anyone else, or employs means justifying or requiring substantial force to overcome the resistance. Pennsylvania law is very clear that individuals do not have the right to use force to resist an unlawful arrest, as Section 505 of Title 18 of the Consolidated Statutes explicitly states that, quote, the use of force is not justifiable to resist an arrest which the actor knows is being made by a peace officer, although the arrest is unlawful. Likewise, in the 1995 case of Commonwealth v. Biagini, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania declared that, quote, we cannot state it any more clearly. There does not exist in Pennsylvania a right to resist arrest under any circumstances. The lawfulness of the arrest must be decided after the fact, and appropriate sanctions imposed in a later judicial setting. Now, although this language centers on the right to resist an unlawful arrest, or more accurately, the lack of such a right, some courts have construed the language more broadly. For instance, in the 2015 case of Commonwealth v. Love, the Superior Court of Pennsylvania stated in a non-arrest context that, quote, physical resistance to a police officer is specifically prohibited, and that, now quoting again, the only circumstance under which the law will contemplate physical resistance to a police officer is when the officer unnecessarily uses unlawfully excessive or deadly force which triggers the right of self-defense. Accordingly, it is certainly possible that a court would find that the resident could be convicted of resisting for his actions, even if it also concluded that the officer's entry into the home was unlawful.
That's it? No, it's fine. The camera's on.
What was that officer's name? Just walked by, sir?
Officer Rainier.
Rainier, that one? In front of us?
It's Detective Saborski.
Okay, thank you.
Male 70 en route to station 6-3 for the start.
Do you guys have body cams?
We do?
Cool. Am I able to have a drink at all?
Not at the moment. We'll sort all that out in a minute, okay?
I've just got the hospital.
What were you at the hospital for?
For anxiety and panic attack like I was calling you for.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Come on out. I'm going to grab your arm just to make sure you don't fall, okay?
Yeah, come on, pull my pants first.
Yeah, go ahead. Alrighty. Alright, when the handcuffs release, place your hand on your head. You understand?
Yep. Both.
Okay, same on this side, alright? There you go. Okay, you can bring your hands down. I need you to take your chain off for a minute.
It doesn't come off. The clasp is broke. And I'd really not like to get it broke.
Okay, alright, just take a seat. We'll be with you shortly, alright?
Very little information is available about this encounter, including the name of the individual arrested and the outcome of the resisting charge against him, which is also unknown. It is likewise unclear whether he filed a complaint against the officer involved or if he's pursuing any sort of legal action. Overall, the Mannheim officer gets an F for unlawfully entering the home without a warrant, using unnecessary force against the couple as they were attempting to stop his intrusion, and misrepresenting the facts of the situation in an apparent attempt to manufacture an exigency that would justify his entry into the home. The body camera footage clearly contradicts the officer's repeated assertions that he entered the home in response to a loud argument. And although it is highly questionable whether a mere argument would have given the officer the exigent circumstances necessary to lawfully enter the home, to me, it seems likely that the officer manipulated the facts in an attempt to legitimize what was otherwise a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. This sort of dishonesty and contempt for the Constitution is unacceptable, and this incident should be immediately addressed by the Mannheim Borough PD. The man who was arrested gets a C, because although he was within his rights to decline consent for the officer to enter his home, it is possible, if not likely, that a court would conclude that he was not authorized to physically resist the officer's attempt to enter the home, and his actions could even constitute a criminal offense, despite the unlawful nature of the officer's entry. And while I do not necessarily agree that citizens should be deprived of the right to resist in all circumstances, the law in many states prohibits individuals from forcibly resisting officers in order to limit the danger of physical harm to both parties, and in many cases, violations of constitutional rights can be adequately addressed after the fact in the courtroom. This encounter demonstrates how individuals can find themselves in legal trouble when they attempt to physically resist officers, even when the officers are engaging in unconstitutional conduct. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.